It's Magnum Podcast. I'm Jason Snell, joined as always by Philip Michaels and David J. Lohr. Hi, guys.
Hi. The game, as the show says, is afoot.
This is the weirdest goddamn episode of Elementary I've ever watched. I'll tell you what.
This is Holmes is Where the Heart Is, Season 4, Episode 18. The great Patrick McNee guest stars as we go back in time to the 70s at Robin's estate when there's a Jaguar called with Robin 2 as the license plate. You know it must be the past. And Patrick McNee visits Higgins. It's also a Higgins episode. In which
I like the Higgins episodes, particularly ones where Higgins does not have to don a disguise and speak with a funny voice. So it's good.
He left that for McNee.
I agree. Yes, I thought. So this is an interesting episode structurally because I almost get the sense that they wrote this episode as a Higgins episode, and then the producers were like, Magnum PI. And I'm like, oh yeah, right.
We have America's sexiest man right here.
Tom's a workaholic. He doesn't want the week off. All right, I'll write a framing sequence where Magnum's trying to break into Higgins's office to get a camera lens or some stupid crap like that. And that's the framing sequence of this episode.
Well, now, see, I thought that was very intentional to highlight the difference between these friendships. And that, here's this guy who's not insane. He's a mooch. That's all.
Mm-hmm.
He's merely driven insane by the fact that he can't get what he wants. No, that framing device, it may have been intentional eventually, but it had the Tom's off making a movie this week, so we need to film around him.
It felt very much like, yeah, you're right. I mean, he's not in this episode for very long. This is probably like one day of shooting for Tom Selleck, so he got a break or was off shooting a movie, and they did a couple episodes that were light on him so that he could break. Who knows? But I'm sure somebody knows. It's not mentioned in magnum-mania.com, the official Bible of the Magnum podcast, so we don't know for sure. But yes, he is. We get a series of scenes where Magnum is trying to break in. So at no point. Okay, here's part of my frustration with this. It's the Magnum versus Higgins kind of like back and forth that we see from the very beginning of the series, but yet there are several points where I feel like Magnum could have just said, Higgins, I'm going to take the lens now and take the camera lens and leave. And
but then there's no framing device, Jason. Then
you're right.
As we've said before, the frame has just one side to it, and that is no frame at all. It was weird to me. This is as close to a Looney Tunes episode as Magnum really gets. Complete where Magnum builds a Rube Goldberg like trap to create a diversion in the wine cellar.
Yeah,
he thought he was MacGyver.
Yeah, and he keeps and he's literally doing the Wile E. Coyote takes to the camera as his plot is unfolding and going, oh good, I get to use my lock-picking tools now. But the sadly Higgins does not bite. So that's the equivalent of the giant rock falling on Wile E. Coyote, I guess.
That is
Thomas Magnum, super genius.
That is a pretty great moment where he comes up with an entire plan to make the sound of breaking glass from the wine cellar certain that Higgins will. Higgins, who by the way,
it sets off an alarm
in a very nice, a very nice touch that Higgins is progressively, beardier and more haggard as the episode goes on, as he's writing like a man obsessed, writing this story into his typewriter in his office. I wonder if this is where they got the idea for maybe Higgins as Robin Masters.
I very much think so.
Because I look at this episode and I think there's no way Higgins is Robin Masters if he's struggling so mightily on just this little story of friendship. But I think maybe that's where they got it, is, he's locked away writing. But it is not only does John Hillerman look more and more kind of deranged as the episode goes on, but that moment where Magnum's finally got it. And Magnum starts picking the lock, knowing that Higgins is going to see the alarm and go down there, and Higgins is like, meh, it can wait.
And the dogs spook him too. He's like, oh, Oh, whoops! I forgot they were in there.
Yeah.
My daughter was watching this episode with me, and when the alarm goes off and Higgins shrugs, she says, "Well, that's Robin Masters' problem, isn't it?" I thought that was great. She's learning. I've taught her well.
Yeah, really. It's true. The main part of this episode is the flashback that is basically the story that Higgins is writing out, which is about his friend David, who he was in the army with, went to school with at Sandhurst.
Another Sandhurst classmate, and what brings them together is that one of their Sandhurst classmates has died and is having a funeral. That Higgins is the executor of his will.
Right.
A supposedly great world explorer whose name varies from Alec to Alex at several points in the show.
And also he's the executor, not the executor. Really a very important pronunciation mistake there.
I don't know. Yeah. You never know with Higgins.
No. True.
So David is one of these friends, and he hasn't seen him since Sandhurst, I believe. And there's this implication that he was involved in, sort of spy business. But now he's nuts and thinks he's Sherlock Holmes, essentially, and that Higgins is Watson. And it's a, I don't know. I kind of expected it to be more over the top than it was. It's not like he strides in a deerstalker cap and is entirely Sherlock Holmesian, but he does immediately start to refer to Higgins as Watson.
Yes.
That's part of what I love about it, is that it's almost subtle. Like, you actually have to know some Holmes.
Not quite.
Almost. Not quite. No, God, no. But, you have to know the name Segerson. Like, if you don't know Holmes' stories well enough to know that, that's just, you're always just using a different name. No, that is one of Holmes's aliases. And just little things that they drop like that. It isn't just, hey, I'm going to call you Watson and I'm going to make you wear a bowler hat. And look, I've got the meerschaum pipe. And, they don't do that, which, like, even the movie They Might Be Giants, where George C. Scott plays a loony who thinks he's Sherlock Holmes and inexplicably solves crimes. Even that was, he's got the deerstalker and the Inverness cape, and he's, all the tropes and ticks, and this is a little more interesting than that.
So one of the things I like about Higgins episodes is when we get the hint that Higgins, although he's full of bluster and is adversary of Magnum and all of those things, that you also get the sense that he has ties and secrets to, important things in Her Majesty's government. And here, I really enjoy the scene where the agents from the Home Office are there to take his friend Alec or Alex, unclear, his papers back. And this prompts Patrick Macnee to say, "There's no time to lose, Watson. We must look at his papers. They will lead us to Moriarty," which I had a moment of like, no, right. Oh, right. There's the guy who's dead, who we never see, who has the papers. And Patrick Macnee has convinced himself that the papers are going to be on the trail that leads to Moriarty. And spoiler alert for people who don't understand the tone and structure of Magnum PI. Why are you listening to this podcast if you don't know that? But is crazy Patrick Macnee actually going to find and solve sort of a crime? He is. Of course he is.
Of course he is.
He's not finding innocent people, and Magnum has to apologize later. I'm sorry that my landlord's crazy friend accused you of being Moriarty. No, you're actually kind of a Moriarty. There's a method to his madness.
Patrick Macnee would have believed him about Mac, and he would have believed him about the out-of-body experience.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Just saying.
Mm-hmm.
Just saying.
But this is the 70s, so there's no Magnum.
No.
Magnum's in Vietnam, probably, at this point.
No,
76,
according to Magnum Mania, it's 76.
So he's just back from Vietnam.
Yeah, he should be in naval intelligence now at this point, right?
Yeah, you're right.
He's butting heads with Lieutenant Buck Green.
And troubled by his past.
We should have had a scene where the Higgins and Patrick Macnee are going by, and they pass a guy in his dress whites, and it's Magnum doing a take to the camera, going "What?"
And
that would have been beautiful.
That would have been an extra day of shooting for Tom Selleck, and he wasn't available.
Yeah, exactly. He was off making 3 Men and a Baby. Who knows?
Or something like that.
Lassiter. He was doing Lassiter.
This could be our new segment. What movie was Tom Selleck filming that week? Was it Mr. Baseball? Could have
It
been.
was not. It was not
No.
Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. I can tell you that.
Well,
It was not Quigley Down Under.
that's for sure. Well, this episode, because of season 4, is March 1984. So if we look at the Tom Selleck filmography, yeah, Lassiter and Runaway are the two possibilities there.
Well, I think I'm going to call this episode Lassiter from now on. That's what Tom Selleck was doing almost surely.
Maybe.
Nah, probably not.
I don't know. We would have to check the IMDb trivia, and it's just going to tell us goofs instead. It's not gonna help us at all. Let's see what else. The most Holmesian thing that Patrick Macnee does is make a chain of completely ludicrous, but again Holmesian deductions about the series of paints that are put on a Rolls Royce. So from one paint chip, he can determine exactly when a Rolls Royce was manufactured, which leads him to his quarry.
I think the biggest takeaway from this is that there are 3 1974 Rolls Royces on the island of Oahu. So that to me was pretty amazing. That this island, which for all intents and purposes, especially in the 1970s, fairly remote, especially when compared to England.
Well, how do
you get all the Rolls Royces over there?
I think that this is realistic because
go ahead.
is because it's a relatively recent car. It would only be a couple of years old. And my guess is that the rich people on Hawaii will pay for the latest Rolls Royce. And the reason it's not a 75 model is because it takes a long time to import a Rolls Royce into Hawaii.
Very well.
But I think that the rich guys in Oahu will get a Rolls Royce in, sure. And by the way, I thought you were going to go with another direction, Phil, which is it's also deeply impractical because Hawaii is a climate that will eat that car alive.
That would be my other point is that Rolls Royce is going to be a convertible by 1976.
And I mean, it has to sit for 6 weeks in quarantine when it gets there in the first place.
Exactly. Because it's been frolicking with the other cars in England.
That's right.
And also that Rolls-Royce learns its lesson. Yellow is a bad primer color. Clearly, they had to stop. Just stop. Just stop. So we find the owner of the Rolls-Royce, who is Hoon Ching, or Victor Ching, and his son, Hoon Ching, got in a wreck, and there's one of those moments of like, oh, it's all a misunderstanding, and it was just, it's not really anything. It is something. We'll be back to them in a minute. But wait, Patrick Macnee is on the case, which leads, folks, it leads to the scene where Patrick Macnee dresses up as an old Chinese man and infiltrates an opium den.
Yeah, this was a little bit, little bit much. Little bit not cool, Patrick Macnee.
I mean, it is him as a character in The Thing doing yellowface instead of an actor being cast as an Asian person. But still, would it be done today? Hell no.
No.
And also the frame of it too. It's not just that he's dressed up as a Chinese man. It's that, there's a Chinese guy who has a Rolls Royce, and you know what that means, everybody? Opium den, like. Also, by the way, they get acupuncture at this point, and I was thinking, I'm not sure the man in the thick latex mask is going to pass muster when an acupuncture specialist is putting needles into his mask in front of his face. That seems unlikely.
Maybe he is very skilled at making lifelike latex masks.
He's a Mission Impossible or something.
He's a Mission Impossible spy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But not based on the quality of the mask.
No.
He was an Avenger, for crying out loud.
Yes. And
there was an Avenger who was living in the village, as it turns out.
And there's a scene, not to get too far ahead of us, where the doctor walks in, and the doctor is clearly wearing a mask. And I'm like, what is this, mask day?
Yeah.
Was there a 2-for-1 sale at Party Central? But then the only reason the doctor looks like that is so later on Patrick Macnee can whip up a fake doctor mask and come in and pretend to be the doctor. Spoiler alert. are watching this episode while we're talking.
Yeah, which I don't recommend.
No, it would be very distracting.
They do. The opium den thing is resolved by the Home Office guys, the British Home Office guys coming in, and there's a guy, they're speaking Russian, and they shoot a guy, and all of this happens, and it's a lot of sound and nonsense and all of that. But what is really revealed here is that they make it clear to Higgins that Patrick Macnee is an escapee from a home for the insane, and that's where he's been. He hasn't been like secretly undercover, or if he was, he isn't anymore. Now he's just gone mad. And
he was once secretly undercover because he was undercover in Russia, and that's
Right.
why
For 30 years.
That's why the Home Office is very concerned about him, because he has a lot of
secrets.
secret information in that noggin underneath all that latex. So,
addled noggin of his.
yeah. So you don't want him to suddenly be going around, ooh, I'm a mysterious Chinese man. Also, here are the launch codes for all of the Soviet missiles.
All right, I would like to introduce a new segment to the podcast.
Oh, good.
Oh, okay.
It is
Good.
called the Holy Trinity of Cult Television.
Okay.
The Holy Trinity of Cult Television. The theme song is something like, ah. That's all, because it's very holy.
Oh, wait.
You're asking yourself, what is the Holy Trinity of Cult Television? Well, I'll tell you. The one of the Home Office men in this episode is played by Maurice Reeves, a British actor, a fine British actor. You may recognize him possibly from his appearance in another of the Holy Trinity of cult television, Star Trek: The Next Generation, in which he played a Romulan. But you may especially know him from his performance in a pivotal episode of the third leg in our stool of pop culture cult television, Doctor Who on the British Broadcasting Company, where he played the gun-toting Stotts in the episode The Caves of Androzani, featuring Peter Davison, who will appear a year from this episode in the London two-parter that we already covered as Doctor Who, the Doctor. Nerds don't write in. I know he's called the Doctor and not Doctor Who. I don't care. I know, but I don't care.
No, his name is Dr. Julius Who.
Yes, that's right.
Only Peter Cushing was Doctor
Only Peter
Who.
Cushing was Doctor Who. Well done, David. So here's the thing, though, and I immediately, when finding this out, ran to my computer and sent a message to Steven Shapansky, my friend who is the biggest Doctor Who fan in the universe, because I was thinking, wow, Maurice Reeves looks exactly like he looks. He's a little more shaggy in Doctor Who, but this is very clearly right about the time that he was in that episode of Doctor Who. And I went and looked. Not only is it about the time, Holmes is Where the Heart Is and episode 1 of The Caves of Androzani aired on the same day. So have a day, Maurice Reeves. You almost killed Doctor Who and you saved Higgins. So good day. And that, friends, the trifecta of cult TV, Doctor Who, Star Trek, Magnum P.I.
Oh. Thought we were going in another direction with that third one.
Nope,
Okay.
that's it. That's the trio.
Those are the three things.
Those are the three
I'm
things.
kind of down with that.
So Maurice
If we
Reeves,
had-
we salute you.
So if we had a holy trinity of cult TV cruise ship, clearly we'd have to get one to have the entire world so big with the cult B for Doctor Who, Star Trek: The Next Generation, and, of course, the cultiest show of all on network TV, Magnum P.I.
Yep, that's right.
That would be on the Aloha deck.
You got it.
So,
But
it also feeds into my theory of Magnum as a distaff Doctor Who incarnation, which we also covered in the London episode.
Yeah. Oh, the connections are there. It's funny because Patrick Macnee, I think, has no direct Doctor Who connections, but they have to get some other English actors. And I'm actually very impressed that Magnum got English actors to fly all the way to Hawaii to be cast in this, right?
I don't think they would have to twist their arm. Want to come to Hawaii? I would like to come to Hawaii.
Yeah, I get that.
Except for the quarantine
but
with
it is,
the rolls.
It is very far.
Yeah.
They do have to go very far, but they do get to be in Hawaii. So I think they do have that going. My point is more, I'm a little surprised that there are legitimate English actors in Magnum P.I. more often than there are LA actors who do a fake accent, right? That they actually got some legitimate English actors to be in this episode.
enough.
This is about the point in the episode in the frame, by the way, where Magnum finally does break in and reads the manuscript of this story and is reading it out loud. And Higgins at this point looks like he is like deathly ill at this point. He just looks really bad. He's sweaty and.
So I'd like to introduce another new segment.
Okay,
of
let's
the
do it.
I'd like to say, who wore it better? And last week, or a couple weeks ago, we watched Mac is Back, in which Thomas Magnum goes through his oh, I'm so sad about everything, death is all around us. It looks like the last temptation of Magnum with the beard that he grows and the beer that he's drinking. In this episode, we have Higgins going unshaven, drinking swilling brandy like it's going out of style.
When in fact it's already gone out of style. But
Yes.
anyway, continue.
And just looking for all the world like he's just about to on the verge of dying.
Yeah.
So I would like to know, who did you believe more was going through the trials of both body and spirit in their respective episodes, Magnum or Higgins?
Well, I mean, I gotta say, I love John Hillerman. Tom Selleck is pretty gorgeous, but who do I believe? I believe Hillerman.
See, I think that Tom Selleck wore it better because I believe that Tom Selleck actually put in a little bit of time growing a shaggy beard, maybe over the Christmas break or something, and Hillerman looks okay, but like he really just looks like a guy who forgot to shave and then was in a hot room for a little while. So I'm gonna give it to Thomas Magnum himself.
Well, I think I am the tiebreaker in this case, and I am gonna come down on the side of Thomas Magnum. Sorry, Hillerman, you grow a beard or you go home.
All right. Well,
and this has been Who Wore It Better.
All right. Now I'd like to introduce a new segment.
What? Segments on
goodness.
top of segments. Oh my god.
And this new segment is called The Last Temptation of Magnum, in which we discuss Phil's suggestion that Magnum's beard in Mac's back was Jesus-esque. And I say to you, who is tempting Magnum?
Well,
is it Michelle? Is it TC? I don't know.
No, I think it's Rick.
It's Rick.
I think Rick is the devil on everyone's shoulder. Because everyone's always screaming, "Get behind me, Rick!" And
see, I was thinking more of a Rick. Rick comes to Magnum. He's like, Magnum, can I borrow 30 pieces of silver?
Oh,
but that's a different story.
Very good.
Sarah, I was going to say Rick often seems like furniture. He's there.
And that's The Last Temptation of Magnum.
And Jesus is a carpenter, so there you
go. So it turns out, plot twist, the son, Hunching, he is a bad guy. He is Moriarty after all. Shock. Gasp.
Well, and he's played by that guy, George Kee-Cheung, who is in all the different.
Well, the dad, right? Yeah, the dad, and then Danny Kamikona is the son, but who's like. The way I read it is that the dad is like a crime lord, but the son is the hot-headed son who's got his own scheme going on.
The son is sloppy. The son's a fail son. The dad is involved in legitimate crime.
Right.
As such that I run a few numbers. I go to a few businesses around town and go, hey, nice business you got here. Shame it's something weird that happened to it. And the hothead fail son is all, no, we got to get into this opium business. Opium's the future,
now,
Pops.
Phil,
yeah.
I'd like to introduce a new segment right now. And this segment is Michael V. Gazzo judges the quality of the son versus the father in their individual contributions to crime.
Jason, thank you very much. I'm so happy you invited me on your show again. I haven't been here since the episode that I was in, The Ugliest Dog in Hawaii. Oh, my goodness. Well, I would just like to say the son is an idiot who doesn't have respect for his elders. I may be an old mustachio as you call me, but at least I know you don't get involved in the opium unless it's with the Turk who's good with a knife in matters of business. Go Dads! Yay!
Yep. I knew Michael Picasso would take Dad's side. I just knew it.
He always does.
Because these criminal kids today, they don't know.
They haven't been there.
No.
They haven't gone through it. They've been pampered.
I like to imagine that Michael Picaso's character and Victor Ching are nodding together like, you can't!
No. That's Hoon Ching. Victor's the son.
Or sorry, Hoon Ching, right?
Yeah.
The kids today don't know how to do
They
it.
go off to their Cornells and their Browns and their other Ivy League
They're
schools.
talking on the telephone. We use the telegraph.
What's this guy with a computer at the pool? What is that about?
I don't understand this computer stuff. I
like the fact that his henchman is using the lamplight to try and burn the English fella. That's good.
Anyway, the segments make everything better. So they're saved by Patrick McNee, but then of course Watson turns him in because of course Higgins knows that he is a deeply disturbed person and needs to be taken away by the Home Office, and it's tragic. And this is where the episode gets a little bit serious, and I think very nicely done in a way that Magnum PI generally does do a really good job with these moments of kind of memory of warriors with who have lost comrades in arms in the past, and in this case, it's Magnum realizing that this story that Higgins has been compelled to tell at the typewriter is because Patrick McNee, David Worth, passed away. And he said, yes, I corresponded with him. It was pneumonia.
He eventually forgave me.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
We corresponded and created the most complex crimes, and we did all these things. And then he uncharacteristically wrote me that, it's over. And then he died. And for such a man of action and excitement,
yes,
it was pneumonia. And it's
simple
it's
pneumonia.
Such this wonderful monologue.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, the whole back and forth between them, where it starts out where Magnum is just like, "Oh, this is great stuff. Where do you get all this stuff, Higgins?" And then he realizes, "Oh, wait, this is your memoirs.
Yeah,
this is like real." Okay. It's just such a nice
joke and kid and have the laugh-em-arounds about the Magnum, but it does do a very good job of depicting male friendship at a time when I don't think a lot of shows really understood that very well.
Yeah,
and genuine friendship, not not bro friendship. toxic.
Exactly.
This is a case too where you have Higgins's friendship with his compatriot from school and his compassion for him being suffering from mental illness and his sadness in him dying. And then also you have the sort of cross-generational a little bit relationship between Magnum and Higgins, where they're both, as we've talked about before, they're both people who have their military background and they have all sorts of stories to tell. They've seen some bad stuff. They lost people who were important to them. And so they have that bond that they can share. And that's that moment where Magnum realizes just how serious this is. And he says he died, didn't he? And then they have that conversation.
It's such a nice shift when Higgins is angry with him.
Because just to be clear, this episode is ludicrous, and then you get to this moment. I'm like, this is why this is a good show. Is they can pivot right here and have it actually mean something.
And it's so beautifully done. And when Higgins is angry at him, and he says, "Well, Higgins, I have experience. I've had experiences," and Higgins is still angry, and then he realizes, wait. No, you've had these kind of friendships too, and you've lost these kind of people too. And I can tell you the rest of the story. Okay.
Yeah.
And it's a wonderful character moment for them.
Yeah, I agree. That's Holmes is where the heart is. It's this is a good episode. We returned with a couple of shaky episodes, but
yes,
but John Hillerman is I was going to say he was not given enough credit. I think actually he was given a lot of credit. Like John Hillerman was given a lot of credit for being the other big part of the success of Magnum PI beyond Tom Selleck, and you see it in these Higgins episodes. You can actually see that the writing staff of the show also knows that they can just hang whole episodes off of Higgins, and they will 2 or 3 times a year. They'll just do a Higgins centric episode because they're comfortable doing that because he's so good.
And there are shows that you watch where, like Homicide, right? They always knew that whatever else, they could throw Frank Pembleton in the box and it was going to be golden. And on Magnum, they could put Selleck and Hillerman together just with nothing else.
Right.
And they would get a golden scene. And it was not a relationship based on, a will they or won't they, or, oh, they're just totally angry with each other all the time, or, any of that. It was this really nice evolution through the 8 seasons.
Well, yeah, and it harkens back to or harkens ahead in this case to that 2-part episode in Britain, where the best thing about it is the interaction between Selleck and Hillerman.
Yeah, in fact, I think some of the throwback to early season 1 kind of shenanigans involving Magnum breaking in to get the lens and all of that, it's really there to be the counterpoint for what happens later, right? It's really there for this episode to say, essentially, Magnum and Higgins' relationship is they have fun jousting, but there is a more serious connection between these two guys that when it's serious, when it's important, that comes out, and the nonsense sort of falls by the wayside, which is what happens at the end of this episode.
Yeah,
and the dogs still hate him. Let's be frank.
Sure.
Well, and even they have moments where they're okay with him,
but they know he's going to be a ghost. Ooh.
Yeah, yeah. But this is another one by Jay Hughley, who I usually liked his episodes, and he showed a little more understanding of Higgins and Magnum's relationship than, say, the show's creator. The show's creator was happy with shtick.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the other... Well, isn't that always the way that it's the other writers who've got the nuance?
Yeah. Yeah.
Anything more about Holmes is Where the Heart Is?
I'm not the world's biggest Sherlock Holmes guy, because I did not know the secret password name of Sherlock Holmes. But I do feel that... in his day, in his pomp, John Hillerman could have been a hell of a Watson.
He was.
He was what?
Was a Watson in 1990 to Edward Woodward's Sherlock Holmes.
Well, kiss my grits, man. Wow.
And he was very good. I know. It's shocking.
In a TV movie.
Yep. Hands of a Murderer on CBS.
I'm shocked. On CBS,
yeah,
you say?
Right? Edward Woodward did a CBS show? Wow. Okay. Okay, crazy man.
I have, this is not a segment so much as a statement that I want to mention to our dear listeners out there, which is we've inaugurated the official feedback mechanism for Magnum Podcast, which is you can email us using the electronic mails at magnum@theincomparable.com. Send us your segment ideas. We won't use them. Send us your feedback about how we've gotten the Magnum timeline all wrong. Whatever. Send them to magnum@theincomparable.com, and we may not respond.
I think true fans will continue to write in using the coconut that they send to us.
Also acceptable is to message by coconut. Just say, and just to be clear, how you do that is you get a coconut, you split it in half, and you shout into one half of the coconut. And then you take the other half, put it under your pillow, and hope that we respond through that coconut later.
That's right. And I mean, how badly can we screw up the Magnum timeline more than the Magnum writers?
I apologize.
They did a pretty good job with that.
I apologize to the listeners for stating the obvious about how you use a coconut to send us feedback. I know you know.
Yeah, well, sure.
But sometimes there's somebody who's new and they don't know that about how you.
But okay, the coconut is obvious. How about a Brazil nut? How would you do that?
That's a different show. Set in Brazil, clearly.
Fair enough.
Or something like that.
It's a telenovela.
Yeah. All right, well, we will be back next time with more. I sense another Higgins episode coming on. But until then, I've been Jason Snell, and I'd like to thank my co-hosts, Philip Michaels and David J. Lohr. Bye, guys.
Hey, you want to drive up and see the sunset off Reichenbach Falls?
Avenger, disassemble.